Defiant coated locks. Which do I prefer? Which ones do I like? Now, I hate it when you start a video and you just want the information and some doofus talks forever and you don't get what you want. So, hey Siri, set a timer for 1 minute. Within 1 minute, I'm going to let you know which one I prefer. I use Schlage coated locks for 10 years. 10 years. I had 16 rental units when I retired in 2022. I have 18 now. I may add some in the future, not sure. My goal was never bragging rights on unit count. It was the right amount of cash flow from the least amount of units. My friend, the lumberjack landlord, asked me, hey, you should try these Defiant locks. That's what he uses in his rentals. He's very happy with them. So I tried them where I'm living for the last 6 months. And I didn't make this video until I had that 6 months worth of data to tell you. Since they will never be a sponsor of my channel, Defiant locks. All the way over there is where you can F off with how crappy your product is. Yeah, no. I'm ripping them out, throwing them away, grinding them into little tiny bits to have the pleasure of grinding them and getting rid of them, and going back to Schlage locks. I put my money where my mouth is. They are here. And there's my 1 minute timer. Ah, I did it. Rare to get the information you're looking for in less than a minute, so that deserves a reward. You can't drink all day unless you start early, right? It's the joys of being retired. Don't do this until you retire. Which is the goal of my content, is to help you retire early. So now that you got the information for those people that want to know in less than a minute, let me tell you why, and why there's a level of frustration in this transparent way I try to present my information. Where I live has 3 exterior doors. Almost all of my rentals have 2. And the reason I use coated locks is because in a decade, I've never once had a tenant lockout. And even with Defiant, I might not have ever had a tenant lockout. But I like Schlage because the batteries in the units that I lived in lasted over 2 years. I never let them go past 3 to see what the actual length was, but over 2 years without having an issue. Because with the Schlage lock, we input the code, the mechanism engages, and then we, the human, physically turns the dial to engage the bolt, which is where most of the battery energy goes to with the Defiant, is that it pushes the bolt in and out. When it freaking does it. So with Schlage, I suppose if you have a brand new high-end, $1,500 door that you just installed, it's probably always going to line up correctly. Most of my rentals are from constructed between 1982 and 1992. That's the era that I prefer. I don't want newer, and I don't tend to get older than 1979 because I don't like dealing with lead paint, asbestos, all of the issues that can come up with the older properties, depending on when updates were done. But I do have 2 properties from before then. Not all of the doors are perfect. And maybe if you live in an area where the temperature is 70 degrees year-round, perfect lock. Go for it. Use Defiant. Now, they are cheaper, right? The Schlage coated locks cost somewhere between $100 and $115. I have a link in the description below on the locks that I use, and I will continue to put that Schlage coated locks in all of my videos going forward so people can find them in Futureland. But when the door closes with a Schlage coated lock, you push the 1 button so it engages the mechanism to lock so you can leave. You don't need a code to lock when you leave, which helps for people like Millennial Mike that might have a friend stay over who needs to leave after he goes to work. So they can just push 1 button to lock it and can't get back in. Bit of an overshare early in the morning. So then when you grab the dial to turn it, you can physically feel if the bolt is engaging, lining up with where it has to go. With Defiant, you shut the door. There are 3 different major temperature categories that can impact how a door closes, right? Cold, neutral, hot. And depending on the side of the building that your door is in, those can be amplified. I have my front door in the afternoons, even in Washington, that wall gets super hot. So the door does whatever heat does to the door material. And it doesn't line up the same as it does in the morning or when it's cold, like the cold snap we've had in the last week. And I cannot tell you how many times I stood it. Never once with a Schlage coated lock have I ever had to lock the door on the inside and go out a different direction because I couldn't lock it from the exterior. But with the Defiant locks, over and over and over in the last 6 months, I've had issues where the doors don't line up perfectly. And one of these is a brand new door. It's French doors. And the other is a door that I'm probably going to be replacing because it's been here a while. It's other French doors, but older. And as the owner who installed the locks and will be installing these locks later today, never had an issue with a Schlage. Had a few issues with Defiant in the first couple of months, and I thought, hey, I should probably do a review, but I've only had these for a few months, and I want to make sure I can give the appropriate level of happiness or frustration in the presented video covering that information. And here we are, 6 months later. I have two things that I want to do videos on, and it's going to take my 12-gauge shotgun to do those videos because I want to take, I bought a gimbal to record videos on, and I forget who made it, but I have kept it because the only use I have is making the video where I shoot it. And these Defiant coated locks, where I want to grind them up into little bitty bits because they suck so much, I guarantee they're never going to sponsor my channel. This is my personal experience and my opinion of these locks. This is not factual information from a 10,000 person study. This is my experience with 3 installed Defiant locks that have not worked properly since I've got them. So yeah, they were cheaper. I'm the owner who installed them. This is frustrating. Imagine if you're the tenant. I have Class C properties. I don't want Class B, I don't want Class A, and I don't invest in Class D areas. I want working class, normal, what I consider people of my level. I was a truck driver and a cop, and I was in the Marines. I just figure myself working class, and those are the kind of people I like to rent to. What do you mean to those people? But I like to put in coated locks for a couple of reasons. One, I've never had a tenant lockout because I have 2 exterior doors on my units. So if one lock fails, which I've only had one Schlage lock, and it didn't even fail, it was when I got it, there was something wrong with it, and they instantly replaced it when I took it back. But I've never had a problem with one. If a tenant has a battery die, right, they start to make a weird sound when the battery's going, there are 2 doors. Predominantly, people use one door more than the other, so they'll know to replace the battery. And if it did just stop, they can come in the other door to do it. So that's the main reason for me. Self-managing at 16 rentals when I retired, but 18 now, and I'll get used to saying that soon. Never having a tenant lockout is nice. But the other thing I like is my tenants see it as an upgrade when I buy properties, and there are existing tenants in the properties. People call it inheriting tenants, but I like to buy properties with tenants in place, which is why I use the binder strategy. It's how I get my tenants to ask me to raise the rent. Makes it a lot easier to find cash flowing deals on the MLS. But the tenants see that I do a couple of things. As soon as I own the property, I put in coated locks, so they no longer have to use keys. It's a convenience and an expense to me. And I put in motion sensor LED exterior lights, and I ask the tenants, is there anything you would like to have fixed here that's not working? Never had a tenant ask for anything major. It's always something small, like the ceiling fan squeaks. I would like a screen door. I don't think if there was ever anything bigger than that, but not really. Ask those simple questions. You'll start a better relationship with your tenants, and happy tenants don't trash your property. Happy tenants don't leave. So this has been a video of a 6-month experience, a trial period that I did so you don't have to, with the Defiant coated locks. Not a happy camper. I'm going back to Schlage, and there is a link in the description below if you like the Schlage coated locks. I'm very happy with them. The batteries tend to last a long time. I've never had one where I couldn't line the door up to shut it. The problem with Defiant is you push a button and it tries to engage the bolt. You don't have any tactile sensation of, is the door a micromillimeter too close to you? Open, or did the door adjust up and down, or something weird where you can just, as you're turning the bolt to engage it, you feel where it goes. And I've never struggled for more than like half a second to get the bolt to go in. But I've spent 15 minutes with a Defiant lock sitting there pushing the stupid thing. Well, it beeps at me like I'm stupid because since I'm using Defiant, I feel stupid. This has been a nice short live where I can vent off some steam and possibly get sued by the Defiant lock company because they probably have good product. But the cheaper ones, the coated locks that I went for to test out to see if you could save money by not getting Schlage, which do cost somewhere between $100 and $115. That's why what I do is I go to Amazon and I watch for sales. So I click on my link, I look there, and I wait. Whenever there's a sale, I buy a stack of them because I'm going to add properties in the future. I'm going to be replacing the 3 here. I'm doing a rehab downstairs at my first and last Burr property, and I'm going to be putting Schlag there too, because I don't want those tenants to have to deal with what I did for the last 6 months. If you would like your questions answered in a live stream like this, every Tuesday afternoon, 4 p.m. Pacific, I do a live stream that lasts a few hours, and I answer questions about rentals. I'm going to look at the comments really quick to see if there's any questions about locks. Tyler uses Quickset. I tried them about 5 years ago. Had very similar experience to this. If Quickset has one where I can engage and disengage the bolt, I might be more open to it. But the push a button and have the motor do it, stupid, kills the battery, and doesn't always line up right. Yep. I worry about using electronic locks in cold environments. Wayne, it was 6 degrees several years here in Washington in the winter, so it doesn't get like North Dakota cold, like your ears fall off. But 6 degrees in Washington, I've never had a problem with the Schlage coated locks. The Defiant, I've had the temperature change hasn't impacted whether it takes the codes or not, or engages the mechanism, but the bolt going in and out has definitely been impacted by the way the wall and door expand and contract. Until my next video, thanks for coming to my Dion Talk.